Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Mark Westcott's my name. Welcome to the Succession Labs workshop. And to those that have been waiting for a week for this, apologies. There's been some illnesses in the land, so to speak, last week, and it's happened again today. Our guest today, who is joining us, Peter McNulty. Unfortunately, Peter's got a moon boot on. He's had some problems with his foot, and he won't be able to join us today. So I will take you through and go through all the things that we've promised to talk about today. First of all, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for signing up. Thanks for joining Succession Labs, and thank you for the donation that you made, each and every one of you, to Angel Flight Australia to be part of today. So Angel Flight's very grateful for your contribution. So today is very much about the topic really for today is getting your plan sorted in the blink of an eye. Okay, getting your plan sorted in the blink of an eye. So that's our topic for the day. And I just want to say welcome to everyone that's watching, and it's a real privilege to have you here. These days, unfortunately, we have to start every workshop with a disclaimer. And that is just to say we're not providing any taxation, legal, financial planning advice or any other specific advice today. Conversations are of a general nature, and obviously have these conversations with us in a professional setting, on a one-on-one setting with the advisors we use and so on. But today is of general nature and it's not any specific advice. So please don't act specifically on what we say today. Book a meeting with us and then you'll be fine there. Now, I did want to focus today on what we're going to cover. So I just want to talk about things that we're going to cover today, and they're the big things that prevent you from getting all of this sorted. So what we're going to cover today is what normally would hold you up in getting this done, and there's a million reasons why people struggle to get this started, and we'll cover some of those soon. But I'd just like to start off in the comments section here, wherever you might be watching this, whether it's on YouTube, Facebook, or whether it's on the page directly that we've sent you. You can just let us know where you're from and which state at least you're from today, so we just get a bit of a feel for where everyone is today, because I know we had people booked from Western Australia, we've had people booked from Queensland and everywhere, so there's all these different time frames going on. But wherever you are, thank you for being here, and look forward to your participation today. Now, this workshop is for you if you're a farmer, a grazier, a rural business of any level, or an associated rural business, if you're a stock station agents and any business that's associated with rural businesses. And so you're in the right place if that's where you're from. And certainly from the last webinar we ran, most of the people were certainly either farmers, graziers, or primary producers. So great to have you all here today. And as I say, thanks again for the donation for this workshop for Angel Flight. Mostly this workshop today is if you don't know how to get started with this sort of stuff. And it's been interesting. Obviously, last week was kind of wiped out for us from an illness point of view. But on Saturday, we flew the little plane down to Victoria, had meetings with people in Echuca, in Tocumwal, up to Forbes, Griffith, basically Broken Hill, White Cliffs, and north of there, up towards the border, Hungerford, and so on, and over to Bourke. So it's kind of this week we have been everywhere. And one of the big issues in all the people we met with us, we went through the week, and as we were traveling around, was the reason people had procrastinated so long was they really just don't know where to get started, who to talk to, who to trust, who to avoid, and so on. So I just want to give a bit of a shout out to that as being the issues. And I'm just going to say the big issues here mainly are communication issues, lack of communication between the generations, and that was very evident in this last week. Conflict or potential conflict. And mainly the conflict comes from a lack of communication, a lack of direction, and a lack of understanding of what the future looks like for family members. And it's the 3 C's, and the third one is confusion. It's just not knowing, as I say, this to do with procrastination, not knowing where to start, what to do, who to talk with, who to trust, who to avoid, and all those sorts of things. And, often I get asked the question, when is the right time to start succession planning? In fact, I've got an email from someone from a presentation I did a couple of weeks ago, and they've written to me and said, our kids are this, and this. They're sort of 15, 17 and 19 or somewhere around that age. And they said, is that too young to start? And I'm just going to call it out here again today. No age is too young to start this conversation, because even before kids go away to boarding school, if you've set up the environment for your children so that they understand that this is something you take seriously, this is something you're going to have regular conversations about, and this is something you want to talk with them about and keep them involved on a regular basis, even though they may change in regard to their plans over periods of time. The best time to start succession planning conversations is when you first think of it. We spend so much of our time trying to unravel bad situations where people have left this too late. And I'll talk about Rockhampton I went to recently, and it's just getting to the point there where it's really the conversation up there is in some ways it should have been started 10 years ago, and that way the relationships in the family, the understanding in the family, and the communication would have been so much better. So this workshop is very much about trying to help people where the communication has fallen down, where the conflict may or may not have already started, or if not, it's pretty close, and certainly where there's confusion in regard to how to get moving in regard to these areas. So now I've asked this question. I think we asked this last time as well, but I'd like to start again and just say, what progress have you made with your estate and your succession planning so far? So if you just make some comments in the chat there, where are we up to in regard to your existing progress in regard to your estate and succession planning? Have you done a little bit? Have you done a lot? Chances are it's probably going to be not a lot. You've probably done something. You've started thinking about it. You've talked to the neighbour, or you've talked to somebody, or you've shared with someone in the family that you'd like to get going with this. But chances are you haven't done all that much about it. So that's kind of, if you wouldn't mind just making a bit of a comment, gives us a bit of an idea in regard to where you are. But in this workshop today, what I'd like to cover off on is do a bit of a recap from the webinar we did a couple of weeks ago. No secret here. What we would like to offer you at the end of today is a opportunity to really get involved in our first 2-day retreat, to talk about the 4 different options actually you have in regard to getting your estate and succession planning done. And I'll go into those in more detail later, and we'll talk about what's involved financially in regard to each of those. But there's an online version, there's a hybrid version, there's an in-person face-to-face where every meeting is face-to-face, looking at each other across the table, or a handshake away. And finally, we're going to talk about the excitement we've got here in regard to our 2-day retreat here in southeast Queensland, to really get this done quickly, get it done in a flash, and to get all your legal documentation completed, signed, sealed, so that when you walk out after the 2 days, you've got everything in place. You've got your interim documents in place, you've got your interim succession plan in place, and it's just a matter then of upgrading. But we're going to be very big in regard to making sure you've got something that's in place that's going to work. Even if it's 80% right the first cut, it's better than having something that's 5% right, if that, which is probably where you are right now. In this workshop, I want to talk about the 3 big mistakes people make, especially in regard to the do-it-yourself version here. I want to talk about the power of having a 90-day process, and we're getting a lot better at this. We're getting more specific at this, and depending at what level you want to come in, whether it's hybrid, face-to-face, or the 2-day retreat, the 90-day process is a very important part of each of those. And even the 2-day retreat, we still maintain a 90-day process afterwards to give you the opportunity to come back and keep tweaking what you've got in place, what you've had documented, and what you've signed off on in the 2-day retreat. We want to talk about some success case studies. One of the things I think this is an interesting area here because sometimes, and rightly so, people want what's called social proof or validation that what we do for other families works and everyone's happy with what we've done. But it's an interesting conversation because what we're talking about, the financial issues, the personal issues in regard to family members and relationships and so on, not everyone wants to share where they are in regard to their family relationships and conversations around money and so on. So, it's not that simple to just say, give us 10 people you've spoken to. It's a matter of finding people that are happy to share their experience based on feeling comfortable with having conversations around their own situation. What I'm, as always, there's an incentive for you to stay right to the end. There's $50,000 worth of extra gifts, bonuses, whatever you want to call them, for those that stay right through to the end. Just going to say this up front, we're going to make an offer to you in regard to the 2-day retreat. We want to make that as transparent as possible and also as obvious as possible that we would like to see you come along to the 2-day retreat and to get this sorted in the blink of an eye, so that because otherwise this just drags on and on and on, and you think about this for a while, you procrastinate a bit more, and nothing happens. So we're very keen for you to take action here and to be in a situation where you have pride in regard to what you've put together. There's some. I'm actually just happen to have this here beside me. There's a book, Who Do You Want to Be a Hero To? And it's part of my whole 25-year vision workbook that I have for myself and my business. But certainly that book, Who Do You Want to Be a Hero To? I just want to say up front that our goal this year is to allow you to be a hero for your family. And, when I look at that, we try and take ourselves outside of thinking about ourselves and thinking about what we can do to make your life, more valuable and more exciting for your family. And so our goal is to allow you to be a hero for your family. And to do that, that means giving you the opportunity to get all this stuff sorted, to put something in place that's really valuable and powerful, and for you to be able to sleep well at night knowing that if anything or when something goes wrong, that all the documentation is in place and everything's taken care of. So if you stay until the end today, there's $50,000 worth of extra goodies that will be included as part of the incentive for you to get involved in the 2-day retreat. Make no apologies about that. Our goal is to help you to take action here. And I can sit here and fluff around and teach you everything I know. But at the end of the day, my greatest opportunity for you is for you to take action and get something done here. So no surprises. That's what we're going to try and help you with, is to take action, be a hero for your family, and get this all in place. So as I say, stay until the end. And most certainly, if you stay until the end, there's $50,000 worth of extra goodies that hopefully we'll make available for you. Now, I just want to touch back on the Estate and Rural Estate and Succession Forum we ran at the end of last year. That was a very successful process we took people through. At the end of last year, we ran a workshop, and same as we have here, and directed people to come and join our 3-day forum. We added a couple of extra days in, a Q&A session one day, a bonus day along the way, and so on. And basically 95% of the people that came along to that forum moved forward in regard to taking action to get their estate and succession master plan in place. So, hopefully in regard to what we're doing today, we can give you great incentive in regard to getting your 2-day retreat done as well, because we want to see as many people as we can come along to the 2-day retreat and get real progress made in regard to their plans and so on. But I just want to touch on some of the statistics that came out since we did that. And I just want to say that, when you look at statistics in Australia, 74% of wills are successfully contested in Australia. Now, this is damning, sadly. The fact that 74% of wills are contested is, even that by itself is a terrible number. That so many people are confused about what their mum and dad, or their estate above them. So many people are confused and unhappy with what's been done, and there's been such a lack of communication between the generations. There's such a high number of wills are contested, and that doesn't mean 74% of all wills are contested. It means that of all the wills that are contested, 3/4 of them there is some level of success. And in Queensland, for example, that's even higher. 77% of wills are successfully contested in Queensland. I'm not sure why a few more here, but what we want to help you do is to make sure that there is no contesting of anyone's wills, and we want to make sure that there's good communication between the generations. Everyone knows what's going on, and there is no contesting of any estate and succession plan that you're putting in place with those that you love and those that you care for. So they were just some statistics there. And the saddest part about all this, it's not that the wills are contested, and it's not whether they're successful or not, is that every time someone contests a will, I can tell you one thing that happens is that the family relationships just take a turn to the dust. And so all of a sudden, all the cousins, the grandchildren and so on, as soon as one member of the family contests a will, the kids, the grandkids, the cousins, nephews, nieces, they never talk to each other again. They're just out of the loop, and that's the greatest tragedy of all this. And so my comment to parents who are sitting there still procrastinating and thinking about this is that if you're thinking about whether you do this or you don't do this, in other words, if you do something about your succession planning and so on, it's not about you as much as it's about. It's not about money as much as it's about the relationships in the family. And I just really implore you to always be really conscious of the fact that the biggest issue that you can solve or screw up in your estate and succession planning is the family relationships. And that is worth so much more to keep those relationships in a good place than money will ever be. Okay, so I want to talk about the opportunity for everyone that's watching today. So the big opportunity for today is that what we've done this year, and we've really made some massive changes in regard to how we engage with people this year, the process we take people through, the value that we create. We've introduced so many extra things this year to be really, really valuable to people who engage us. And we've become much more focused in regard to the time frame to getting all this sorted. So, you've got 3-4 options with us, and I think I've talked to you about this. You've got the online version, you've got the hybrid version, you've got the face-to-face version as well, but also you've got the opportunity of the 2-day retreat, which really gets it done in an accelerated way. But basically, at one end of the scale, you're looking at 180-day turnaround to get all this sorted. If you're going to do this all via Zoom meetings and online, it's probably going to take about 6 months to get all this done. The hybrid version, you're probably looking about 90 days, and then with the face-to-face version, about 90 days to get most of this sorted. Having said that, you engage us for a year, so we're in a relationship for a year there. And the fourth option, of course, is the 2-day workshop where you're going to get all your interim stuff done. You're going to be 85% good to go at the end of the weekend, and then it's just a matter of tweaking after the weekend. And so what we've done is create this opportunity for people to really move forward in regarding to getting this done. We're really conscious of the fact that people want to get this done quicker. People want to get their estate and their succession planning done quickly. They want it to be fast, easy, inexpensive, and simple. And that's really what we've taken in mind and has keep coming back to. I know that's why we keep coming back to the 2-day workshop to make sure that people really can get this done in the blink of an eye, in the flash of a whatever, and really be very proud of what they've achieved. Now, I just want to touch on the difference between action, the cost of action versus inaction. And today I want to be really transparent in regard to all fees, charges, and what this is going to cost you to get it sorted and so on. And certainly when we talk to you about the offer for the 2-day retreat, it'll be very clear in regard to what fees, charges are and so on to get that done. But I'm just going to say that the cost of action versus inaction, well, the cost of taking action is going to be somewhere. And I mean, look, we deal with people whose estates are worth sort of 5, 10 to 100 to $200 million estates. And, whether it's a $5 million estate or a $200 million estate, I mean, it's really the same issues, just a couple more noughts and so on floating around. But ballpark, to take action and to get that sorted, bottom line is you're probably looking at somewhere between $15,000 to $40,000. Okay, so I'm just going to throw that out there. If that scares the hell out of you, have a think about this. The cost of taking action to create real certainty, confidence, and security to protect the assets for the next generation, to ensure your wealth stays in your bloodline, you're probably looking at $15,000 to $40,000, somewhere in that ballpark. And that depends on how complicated your estate is, what size your estate is, and how many kids and all those sorts of things. I'm just going to give you an easy figure for the inaction point of view. So, if you think $15,000 or if you think $40,000 is an expensive amount of money to cover an estate worth $500 to $200, $300 million, if you don't take action and one person in your family, and normally it's instigated by a son or daughter-in-law, if one person in the family contests the will or wants to argue over what your estate and succession plans or lack of have done, just start at $250,000, $300,000 and just work your way upwards into the millions. I speak to people all the time, and every time I say, it's going to cost you $250,000, someone in the audience will put their hand up and say, we have friends who they're up to $500,000 already, and it's still climbing. So you need to be really clear that whilst there is an investment required to protect your wealth, if you do nothing, the cost of inaction is in hundreds of thousands of dollars. You're not going to spend that much on this end of the equation if you take the time and get this done. But certainly if you don't take any action, it's just hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of fees. So you have a choice as to what you do there. You can say, Mark, that's great. Love listening to all you have to say, but I'm not prepared to invest that in our estate and succession planning. That's your choice. I'm just going to tell you when the proverbial hits the fan, it's just going to be a lot of money that you're looking at here. Now, this is from the forum last year. What we do is when we work with people, we'll take you through a process. We have access to a whole lot of other professional advisors, and we'll bring those in as required. And certainly we'll work with your accountant, but certainly we only deal with people who specialise in what they do, and all the people on this page are specialists, and be they financial planners, lawyers, counsellors, professional coaches, writers, and farm viability experts, and so on. And myself as a facilitator, We just deal with people who do this in their sleep and are good at it, and it's all they do. And we want to make sure that you have the greatest opportunity for progress. Now, we've done a lot of new stuff this year, and I've talked to you about that before. We've got new developments. We've talked about the 3 choices. We didn't have this last year, but this year we've got 3 choices. You can do all your dealing with us on Zoom calls online. Excuse me one sec. You can do it online. You can do a hybrid version, which is 1 or 2 face-to-face meetings, and the rest we do over Zoom. Or you can have all the meetings, excuse me, as personal meetings, face-to-face, one-on-one. And so it depends on what you're after there, and you can choose whatever that looks like and what's best for you. We've added in a whole range of things such as weekly coaching calls, future focus to help people with goals and aspirations over their next 2 years, 3 years, 5, 10, 15, and that's been really valuable. We're running a session tomorrow that's been really valuable in regard to people who don't know what next year looks like. They're so busy just focusing day to day in their farm or property, and so we're helping with personal and health, relationships, money, and all the personal stuff in your life, not just the work stuff. We're running monthly Q&A sessions and so on. We've got other workshops, webinars, and all that sort of stuff that we're including as part of our ongoing process, which we hadn't done last year. We've created the Succession Club, and that's all about making sure on a year-to-year basis we get together, we have an annual meeting, you get access to all these other things during the year as well. And basically what we're doing is just making sure that there's real value for you in the relationship with us, and that you're always going to be up to date in regard to where you are. The 2-day succession retreat, that's not just available for people up front, that's available for existing clients and so on as well. And depending on where you are in your ongoing relationship with us, depends on what that's going to look like if you want to come along to the 2-day succession retreat. But we're just so excited about this. It's a brand new concept, and we really want to encourage everyone who can to make it along to that, because we're going to have most of our professional advisors there, certainly someone from each of the disciplines, and we want to make sure that you get every opportunity you can to engage with us, to engage with the other professional advisors, and to get real value out of our relationship. So that's in regard to all the new choices and so on that we're offering this year. That's that. But I mentioned before, I had some meetings over the last few weeks up in Rockhampton with different clients and so on, and certainly one of the clients up there, a number of children. And what it proves over and over again is that the longer you leave this, the worse it gets. The longer you wait to start your estate and succession planning, the worse it gets, and you just get to a point where the communication, the relationship, the conversations between family members gets to a point where in some ways they're fractured, and the conflict is too great to be able to go through and to do this in a sensible way. So we're really conscious of the fact, and occasionally I'll go and see some clients, and the first thing I do after I finish is just do a quick little video and put it up on YouTube so no one knows who I'm talking about. But when something I see comes up and I just think, wow, that family could have been saved if they'd done this, this, and this. One of the things I'm just going to say is, whatever age your kids are, start the conversation early, start the planning early, and don't think because they're not old enough to make decisions that you should wait until they are old enough. You want to address all this sort of stuff while the kids are young, before they get married, have relationships and so on, so that everyone in the family is really on board with what your thoughts, plans, and aspirations are for everyone in the family. And we're very much of the what I call the 80% approach. And once again, the retreat that we're talking about, the thing that we'll make an offer for you at the end of this workshop is that, if you can get your plans done quickly over 2 days, it gives you the opportunity to come back and think about it, review it. And, you've got 12 months or more to come back and go, okay, maybe we'll make some little tweaks here, some tweaks there, and so on. Might take you a couple of years to get to, what you think's 90, 95%. But by the end of a weekend, you can be at 80%, and you're probably at about 2 or 3 or 5% now of having a good plan. So we really want to encourage people to think about accelerating your opportunity and certainly getting to the 80% approach. Look, some people who are watching this may not know me from Adam, so I'm just going to say, whoever Adam may be, just going to say I grew up in the Hughenden area between Hughenden and Longreach in northwest Queensland on a sheep property, and we've been helping families for about 35 years just create real harmony, certainty, confidence, security, and so on through effective estate and succession planning. So it's kind of my life's work. That's me. We also do angel flights, and as part of our commitment to rural Australia, we do angel flights. You would have made a contribution to Angel Flight as part of coming along here today. So thank you for that. And we have a lot more dots on the map now, and certainly after last week even, lots of areas in Victoria now. We're now working with clients, way more in New South Wales. And in fact, if probably can't see my mouse here, but certainly out Broken Hill and that area, we've got a tribe of new clients have sort of come on board from out there. And certainly in throughout Queensland. So we also have clients in South Australia, Western Australia, and so on up in the Northern Territory. But the bulk is on the eastern seaboard, and that keeps us very busy. But we've got more clients coming on board over in Western Australia as we speak. So that map will start to fill up there as well. Look, we're dealing currently, let's just say, around about 300 families. I've been doing this for over 35 years now, and we're probably getting closer to $3 billion worth, billion, that's with a B, $3 billion worth of assets that we're protecting as part of the whole process. And by protection, what I'm saying is working with the lawyers that we use is putting asset protection strategies in place to make sure that your family wealth stays in the bloodline and doesn't go outside. I just want to touch quickly in regard to the 9 steps in our process. Now, for those of you who look at that and just think there's too many images and you've got no idea how it works, 1 is up in the top left-hand corner, 2 underneath, 3, then it goes across to 4, 5, 6, and down the right-hand side, 7, 8, 9. So that's our 9-step process, starting with a cuppa and a chat, having a bit of a diagnostic, getting through the burning issues with you, talking about protecting your wealth. And now protecting wealth isn't just about marital breakups and so on. It's about if someone gets sued, if someone goes bankrupt, if someone dies early and so on. Making sure you're dealing with the right team members, having good family conversations, talking about the transition, focusing on the transition from one generation to the next. And that in itself sometimes can be a real bother because, lots of times, people are very focused in regard to, lots of issues, but you've got to make sure the documentation's right. And finally, peace of mind. And what that is saying that, it's all very well to do something today, but we want to make sure that on an annual basis, everything is always up to date. For those that understand where I'm coming from, and if you just excuse me one sec, understand where I'm coming from is that it's our goal, our lifetime goal, to positively affect 1 million families. You might think, well, that's a big number, but the more I speak, the more webinars I run, workshops, and so on, the more people we run into and work with one-on-one. 1 million is a long way away. I gave myself 25 years to achieve this. We've written books, we've written articles, and so on. And it's my aim, it's my burning desire to make sure that we positively affect the lives of 1 million families before my days are up. So whichever way we can do that, we want to be able to do that. But I just want to reflect and just go through a few examples of situations where we have been able to help people. And I want to start in parks. I'm just going to go through the 9 steps in the process, and these just all are good examples of where we've been able to help people each way through the process. So in Parks was certainly a situation where the cuppa and a chat was just all that was needed. No one had been able to have a conversation with the first generation, the grandparents, the parents, and what you call the third generation. Until I turned up, nobody wanted to talk about this, but I turned up and everyone showed manners, and we all got together for a cup of tea, and that was all we needed. In 15 minutes, everything was solved, everything was sorted, and sometimes that's all you need to do is just to start the conversation. If you go up to Boulia in northwest Queensland, there were some cattle farmers up there, and what worked for them was just going through the burning issues checklist. No one had actually sat down with them before and sort of worked out what are all the things that they needed to achieve, and we wrote down in black and white what they needed to achieve to create real certainty, confidence, and security in their family. And just seeing it in black and white was just so liberating for them all. But more importantly, they realized, and this is why people, invest in engaging us, is that you're actually delegating the work to us. In other words, sometimes, many times people don't do anything about this because they think all the work has to be their own. And I guess what you're doing is you're writing a check to delegate this for us to do it for you. The third step in the process, the family consensus meeting. We had 7 kids in a family out Quilpie Way, and these guys were literally close to having fisticuffs. They were just about to implode. And, there's no point in sitting down and sitting around a table having a chat to these people. They wanted to have the opportunity one-on-one to go and have a chat with someone outside the family, so someone like me. And that's the greatest part of being a facilitator is that, I'm Switzerland. So I don't know anyone in the family generally, and people can come and tell me what they're really feeling, what they're really thinking, and off we go from there. So in Townsville, the due diligence report, this is one of the key parts of the process that we go through with our clients, and the solicitors do this, and they look at all the issues in your structures, in your current wills, and your current legal documents, and so on. But my mate in Townsville, when the due diligence report was presented, he'd actually paid a fortune to a local lawyer who, it would be fair to say, probably didn't really know what they were doing. And there were just so many things which had been ignored. There was a minefield of potential liability, of potential loss of wealth and so on, and a lack of any protecting of any assets. And as I say, this mate of mine, client of mine who had used someone else before us, he just paid a fortune, and it just proves that if you've got a serious problem, you have to go to a specialist. You don't go to a GP. One of the other key things of our process, the distribution matrix, has been a real game changer. Excuse me, for clients. When you've got a number of children and you can just set out in a special spreadsheet to see what everyone is getting, what the off-farm kids are going to end up with, what the on-farm kids are going to get, and so on. And sometimes you might have to extend that over a period of time, whatever. But by being able to put that down, to see exactly what everyone's getting, you can create real fairness between all the members of the family. We're not trying to create equality, but to create real fairness. Protected prosperity. There was, our clients and other clients in Rockhampton, actually, of all places. But once they were able to see that we could provide protection against excess taxation, against bankruptcy, unexpected death, matrimonial protection, and protecting the family prosperity for everyone, our client up there just couldn't believe what we were able to do, and they're one of our greatest advocates these days in regard to just going through and the distribution matrix and then protecting the wealth of the next generation. Getting the final documents done. Some clients down there, Bathurst, they'd been thinking about getting this done for years. They had their local solicitors and accountants had promised to do this for years, and they kept thinking everything was taken care of because their accountant told them that they were going to sort this all out. You just can't. You can't rely on your local guys and your people you've had long-term relationships with, it's like most financial planners, they'll tick on a box and say you need to get your wills, you need to get your succession plan sorted, but you actually need someone to come in, hold your hand, and take you through the whole process, and that is what we do. The legacy letters, making sure all the human elements are covered. You want to make sure that something happens to you, there's nothing left unsaid. We talk about this often, and finally in New Zealand, the clients, once they understood that our peace of mind plan process was very much about every year sitting down with them, turning up, having the conversations once a year, making sure everything's up to date, and making sure if something goes wrong, our guardian advantage is that we turn up. If somebody passes away, we turn up and we make sure that everything that needs to be in place is in place. Okay, so that's what we do as part of our 9-step process, and they're just some examples of people we've taken through and so on. But I just thought it was worthwhile. I wanted to show you the $20 million example, and for some of you, this will be more than your wealth significantly. For others, this will be just a small example of what your own situation looks like. But I just want to talk about what does $20 million, what does a $20 million estate really look like? So if you've got 3 kids, for example, it's ballpark. I mean, it's a $21 million example. But if you have 3 kids, I mean, roughly you're looking at $7 million or just under $7 million per child. Now, if our asset protection strategies protect against a failed marriage, in one normal family, you're $3.5 million ballpark better off, aren't you? So if you're a $10 million estate, you've got 3 kids, you're probably looking about, $1.8 million is what you would be better off, because out of 3 children, statistically, one of them is going to get divorced. So from a statistical point of view, if you're not protecting the wealth for the next generation, now that's all very well. You say, well, Mark, none of my kids are going to get divorced, and that's great, and I hope they don't. But I mean, you just need someone to be sued. You need one child to be sued. And in a $20 million estate, that's $6.6667 million could go out the door if you don't have asset protection strategies in place. In other words, one of the kids, if they strike hard times or they make a bad decision or somebody gets run over on their property or whatever, they could lose all of the inheritance you've passed down to them. So if just one child dies, gets sued, goes bankrupt, or gets divorced, in a $20 million estate, it's somewhere between $3 to $6 or more million is swinging at risk. And so I go back to the previous slide where, a slide from a little while back where we talked about, it might cost you $15,000, might cost you $40,000 to get all this sorted. It's just a drop in the ocean compared to the downside of what can go wrong. Okay. Why use a facilitator? Well, we've talked before about if you try and do this yourself, you're just going to miss so many things. You don't know what you don't know, and you won't know the questions you need to ask yourselves. You won't know the questions you need to ask your children. And the people who are close to you, your current accountants and, local solicitor and all that sort of stuff, this isn't something they do 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And the role we play is to make sure, one, you're only dealing with absolute professionals and you're getting asked all the right questions. Now, we've talked before about this, but I just want to say before I go into this slide here, I'm just going to remind you, it's not that far away now. It's just a couple of minutes away, and we'll talk about the offer for you to come along to the weekend retreat. But one thing I will say is that people who try and do this themselves, sorry, it's just press the button there. People who try and do this themselves, if you want to do it yourself, you don't want to use a facilitator and so on, you're still going to get tripped up by procrastination. You're not going to have the right mindset. You're not going to have the correct capabilities. You won't know the right team members to get involved and so on. And you might end up, just engaging a whole range of general practitioners rather than specialists. And I'm just going to tell you, there's probably 3 to 5 solicitors in Australia that I'd trust with your stuff. If you've got an estate $5-10 million or more, you need to use someone who knows what they're talking about. If you had a serious medical condition, you wouldn't get your local GP to get their scalpel out and to fix you. You'd fly straight to, I'm sure your people would fly straight to the capital city or the biggest city you could get to, and you'd find the best doctor, you'd find the best specialist to help you with. So your mindset, if you do this yourself, is probably going to be skew if you're going to have the wrong capabilities, and you don't know what you don't know. You don't know the questions to ask. The local people don't know the questions to ask you. You don't know what relationships you need to get this done well. You might need counselling and all those sorts of things, and we've just got access to all those sorts of people. So I'm just going to say, if you're thinking of doing this yourself, please don't. We did this last week. A couple of weeks ago. We talked about getting your succession plan filter right. So you'll be able to get this download if you want this again. Speak to Sue Ellen, Tori, send us a note. We'll send you a copy of this succession plan filter. But basically, it's just saying, what are your expectations? If we're meeting here 90 days from today, looking back, what has to have been the transformation from where you are now to where you'd like to be regarding the outcomes for your estate and your succession plan? Now, as I said before, I want you to be the hero for your family. I want your family to look back at you and say, Dad, wow, Mum, Dad, thank you for getting this sorted, and really appreciate the fact that you made the effort. And so the outcome is to create pride in establishing a fair and effective estate and succession plan. And basically what we're saying in this form is, okay, what are the best results? What are the worst results? But on the right-hand side here, how are you going to measure whether you've had success over the last 90 days? And we've got, you've got asset protection in place. You've got a fair outcome. Doesn't have to be even, but it has to be fair. You've got certainty for the next generation. Everyone knows what's going on, and you've minimized the conflict. Special needs are catered for. You've got your final wishes documented, and so on. So that's where we are here. Now, I promised you today we would disclose costs, our fees, strategies, and so on. And here they are. So in 2023, these are the three options. We talked about an online option, the standard option, which is kind of like a hybrid. And I'll just try and make this a little bit bigger here. The hybrid option, and the executive level, which is everything is, actually, I think I have to put myself back here or you won't hear what I'm saying. Yes, you've got the online version on the left, the standard and the executive. Online's just all Zoom meetings, so we don't come out and see you. We'll just do everything online. Standard, we have a couple of face-to-face meetings with you. In the executive, we're catching up with you every quarter. Every meeting is in person, face-to-face. Solicitors and all that will be there on the spot. So you can go down the left-hand side, look at all the things there, the things that are included, the retreats, the quarterly feature focus meetings. We've got quarterly meetings. We've got, access to workshops and so on. We've got Q&A sessions on a monthly basis, weekly client coaching calls, and all those sorts of things. So, if you're interested in working with us, that's a bit of an idea. And I mean, look, here it is. Bottom line, if you just want the online version, it's $8,800. Standard $15,000, executive $25,000. That's our fee. That doesn't include your solicitors, legal costs, and so on. That's why it's probably, I say to you, it's going to cost you somewhere between $15,000 and $40,000, depending on how involved lawyers, other professional advisors are as you go through the process. So that just gives you a bit of a ballpark. But I mean, every person's different, so we'll obviously speak to you, and you'll be very clear up front in regard to what your investment is to get this done properly. But basically, do it yourself, or we can help you create and establish a plan that you will be proud of. Now, any questions so far, please write down any questions in the chat, and happy to answer those if you've got any questions along the way. And if not, we'll keep going. And this is where I want to introduce to you the whole concept of the retreat. Now, you've probably picked up we're as excited as anything about the whole concept of the retreat. It's a new opportunity that we've come up with this year to help people get this done in the blink of an eye, fast as a flash of whatever. And but over 2 days to sit down, meet with all the professional advisors, to have your own family table, to sit down, to have the conversations, to involve your children, your family, we want to encourage people to bring their family along, sit at a special table, so you can have conversations with your family about getting this done. So this is the concept of the retreat, and here's the offer to you. The Rural Succession Retreat is going to be Saturday, Sunday, the 10th and 11th of June, and we encourage you to pencil that into your diary straight away. So you've got 2 days, 10th and 11th of June. It's at Sanctuary Cove here on the Gold Coast, southeast Queensland. Here's just a bit of an example of the agenda we'll be going through over each of the 2 days, kicking off at, I think it's 9 o'clock on the Saturday, group dinner on the Saturday night. Then on Sunday, we'll be finished. I think it's about 4 p.m. We'll be finished on the Sunday. So people who want to start heading home can do so. But at the end of that, you will walk out with a fully documented estate plan, your succession master plan, your timeline, and so on. Now, I just want to go through what it is here. I'm being fully transparent with all fees today. The 2-day retreat, the real cost of this is $35,000 worth of value. That's complete program, the workbook, all the professional advisors, and so on there. The 12 months, you actually get 12 months on our online version of our master planning process. So remember, I said there's 3 versions. There's the online, there's the hybrid version, and the face-to-face. This includes 12 months with us on the online version, so it's worth $8,800. You get 12 months platinum membership upgrade, which is worth $5,500. You get all the Future Focus online sessions, which is all about personal coaching, lifestyle, and all those sorts of things about health, relationships, money, and all that sort of stuff, helping people make the transition from being involved on the farm and so on. And the Fast Action Super Bonus gifts and so on, worth about $4,500, is some 30-minute calls with each of the professional advisors. So if you add everything up, we're putting together a package that's worth just under $60,000. And the entry fee for all that, including the weekend retreat. Now, accommodation's not included, and I'm just going to say that up front because some people want to stay in all different sorts of places, so we're not going to include accommodation, but the whole package for the weekend is $9,997. Now, we're not going to ask you to pay that up front. Remember, you're getting about $60,000 worth, so there's a $50,000 differential. Here's the Sanctuary Cove retreat where we'll be holding the workshops. All we're suggesting is that you book a $100 qualifying discussion with me, and that $100 is fully refundable. So if you decide to go ahead, if you decide not to go ahead, whatever, you get your $100 back. And the reason we do that is that my time is valuable, and we don't want people just sort of saying, yep, they'll have a meeting and then not turning up and so on. So we figure that if you pay $100, you'll probably turn up for the meeting. So that's what we're doing there. You'll get that back, provided you turn up for the meeting. Book your $100 qualifying discussion, ruralsuccessionretreat.com. I'll just say that again. So the website to go to is ruralsuccessionretreat.com. I'm going to put a banner up on the bottom there. Book your qualifying call now, www.ruralsuccessionretreat.com. I hope I spelled that correctly. I think I have. Now, any questions? I just want to say thanks for your time today. I encourage you to give me a call, book a retreat call there, and I'm just going to show you. This is what the web page looks like. I'll just take that. Take that off. Not sure what I've done here. Okay, so this is the page. If you go to ruralsuccessionretreat.com, this is the page that will come up. You can just click on that bit down the bottom there and register for the meeting. As I say, pay the $100 and so on. We talk about why the retreat, so you've got all the information in regard to what's happening for the retreat. As I say, accommodation's not included, but there's certainly plenty of value here. It just talks about myself as facilitator. Here's the team of advisors that will be involved in the retreat. Maybe not everyone in each retreat we run, but certainly there'll be one from each of the disciplines. And we've got a special surprise on the dinner on Saturday night. The dinner Saturday night, we're designing that so that people can turn up, sit down and have conversations with each of the presenters, maybe move around the table during the night. But we've got a special guest speaker who is going to provide something spectacular for us on Saturday night as well. So looking forward to that. Here's a bit of an agenda in regard to the 2-day retreat. I'm just buzzing through here, and you can go to this webpage yourself. And talks about the inclusions. You get your master plan report, you get your interim will, and so on. Here's all the bonus inclusions: Fusing the $1 Million Time Bomb, 12 months platinum, lifetime access to the master plan online, and so on. Talk about the Guardian Advantage. There's the venue, and there's your next step. Now, if you click on register here, what happens is you'll just go through to this web page here. You just need to put in your name, payment details for the $100, and as I say, as long as you turn up for the meeting, that $100 will come back to you. And if you don't turn up for the meeting, we're going to give it to the Angel Flight. So, but assuming everyone will turn up for their meetings, and you can have a chat and just see whether we're a good fit for each other, and whether or not that coming along to the Rural Succession Retreat would be something that would be of great value for you. Okay, well, thanks everyone today. Thanks for your participation. Happy to take any questions offline if you want to send an email afterwards, whatever. Happy to take any questions there, and look forward to having a chat to you in regard to coming along and being involved in the retreat as something where you can really get this sorted in the blink of an eye, and so on. Thanks for your time this evening, and thanks for your patience. I know this is deferred from last week, but I think everyone's feeling a bit better today, so which is a very positive thing. Have a great evening, and look forward to talking with you soon. All the best, everyone.